Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. So today we are going to discuss about ethical issues related to authorships. So in this topic, I guess while explaining the ethics in engineering research and practice and ethics in engineering research, I have explained about these things also, ethical issues related to authorships. The same thing is written here as a separate topic, and same information will be there almost, and with additionally some few more points that we will discuss. So here, academic authorship involves communicating scholarly work, establishing a priority for their discoveries, and building peer reputations, and comes with intrinsic burden of acceptance of the responsibility for the contents of the work. Definitely, when you are talking about academic authorships, it involves communicating scholarly work. That means you are having the research where you are going to connect between the research community. So that comes with communicating scholarly work and establishing priority of their discoveries. So you are going to read out already existing data, discoveries, all those things. So you are going to establish the priority for their particular discoveries, and also the building peer reputations. Okay, that is also very important, because when you are having the publication, definitely you have got some reputation in a certain organizations or academic organizations, and comes with intrinsic burden of acceptance of responsibility. Obviously all this comes with some responsibility for the content of the work. So it is primary basis of the evaluation of the employment, because so usually what happens in the academic field, as a student you might not get you might not understand much, but as a academician or as a faculty, they will have some certain regulations or certain rules and regulations that the particular faculty has to publish so and so much papers in 1 year, or maybe his increment or his salary hike. It depends on a particular aspect, like how many aspects will be there. Maybe how good he has delivered his this thing, how based on how percentage, how many marks they have got, all those things. And then we got these things like increment, that, this and all, they will see. So many factors will be there to give the increment. So in that, one of the major factor will be for academic this thing is the how many papers the particular faculty has been published. So it is primary basis of evaluation of the employment, right, and also the promotion and maybe the other honors. So that's why there are several important research conduct and ethics which are related to the issues which are connected with the authorship of research papers, as described by the Newman and Jones. If you want to study more about this particular authorship in research papers, that you can refer the reference number 7, and that will be given in the end of this PPT or in the notes, okay, and are summarized herewith in context of the engineering research. So credit for research contributions is attributed in three major ways in research publications. So the first thing is by authorship, okay, and then citation, and through the written knowledge. The three things are there: by authorship, citation, and written knowledge. So what is authorship? Obviously of an intended publication. So for example, if I have got some 5 publication, I have got 5 authorship, right? So maybe I can be correspondent author. Okay, if I am the principal or senior author, I will be the corresponding author. I can be the first author, I can be co-author. So of intended publication. Next, they are having citation. Citation is nothing but of previously published or normally presented work. Imagine I have published 2 papers in last year. So in that I got around 20 citations in last year. So I can represent that. I have published around 10 papers, that comes under authorship, and I have got 20 citations in last year. So I can write that, so that comes when they evaluate, they will see how many papers these guys have published in last year and how many papers he got, how many citations he got. So if it is, then the more the number, more the increment. And through through a written acknowledgement also. In some inputs to the present research and all, you can write that I have submitted so and so work, I have written so many projects, all those things. So authorship establishes both accountability and gives due credit, definitely, because when you are having the publication with your hand, with your name, that itself establishes both accountability and gives due credit. So a person is expected to be listed as an author only when associated with a significant contributor in the research design, data interpretation, or rating the paper. So simply people will not give you the authorship, right? You either have to do involve in yourself with the research, and then at least while interpreting the data, okay, when you got the results, how to while discussing about those results and all, that is called data interpretation. And or maybe while writing the paper, after doing a lot of research, you might not be involved in the whole research, but in the end while writing the paper you might have helped the group, so you can also get the authorship. So including guest or a gift, co-authorship bestowed on someone with little or no contribution to the work. So here you are taking because of some, he is your friend, and because he needs some publication, you are simply adding his name. That will be like including guest or a gift authors. Okay, these authors dilutes the contribution of those who actually did the work. So imagine there are 4 members in your group, okay, and you have they have completely worked a lot, okay, and the person you are adding 3 more people who are actually ghost authors, like for example guest or gifted authors. They have not even contributed anything. So that whole itself dilutes. That means the whole paper is distributed among 7 authors now. So that will be like that is like a diluting the your contribution. I mean, actual people who are actually worked, you are diluting their contribution. It's like that. So inappropriately inflates credentials of the listed authors also. Their credibility will not be so good, and is ethically a red flag highlighting research misconduct. So it's a red flag that highlights that it's the research misconduct. So sometimes the primary author dubiously bestows co-authorships on a junior faculty or a student to boost their chances of employment or promotions, which can be termed as career boost authorship. So sometimes you can say that primary author obviously dubiously bestows co-authorships. For example, you have got some junior faculty, he needs some promotion or employment kind of stuff. So that in that way you are pushing that. So that will be called as career boost authorship. So there is also an unfortunate malpractice of co-authorship is there, that can be described as career preservation authorship. So wherein a head of the department or maybe a dean or a provost or other administrators are added as co-authors because of the quid pro quo arrangements, wherein the principal author benefits from a good relation with the supervisor and the administrator benefits from the authorships without doing required work for it. So this is obviously, this is very sad to take, and just because for their promotions and just because they want to get into close with the head of the departments or a deans or something like that, even though those deans, head of the departments or any other higher authorities in academic scale, even though they have not done any contribution, simply adding their name as co-authorship is also one of the unfortunate malpractice of co-authorships. So sometimes actual contributor abstains from the list of the authors due to the non-disclosed conflict of interest within the organization. If there is any conflict of interest is there, or if any funding issues are there, all those things, sometimes the actual contributor he abstains from himself because for the authorship. Such co-authorship can be termed as a ghost co-authorship. That means you don't want to be there, but he wants to have that to be done for a particular purpose, but he doesn't want to be there, like that, maybe because of this conflict of interest. So full disclosure of all those involved in the research is important. Whoever is involved in the research, that need to be disclosed, so that evaluation can happen both on the basis of findings and also whether there was influence from the conflicts also. So in other types of the questionable authorships, so some researchers list one another or co-author. For example, I have done my work, so I will use your name. So you in your project you use my name. So in my paper your name will be there, in your paper my name will be there. So this is called as what, co-authorships. Like we are having the researchers list one another as a co-authors as a reciprocal gesture with no real contribution. If there is any real contribution or a real collaboration is there in between you and me, then it is expected. Okay, but if there is nothing is there, if there is no collaboration except minimal reading or editing or something like that without truly reviewing the work, threadbare, then it is not a good practice in research. So this is all doesn't also comes under ethics. So some authors, in trying to acquire a sole authored work despite relying on significant contribution to the research work from others, they recognize, for example, they recognize that effort only by the acknowledgement. For example, they say that some of the scientists will be there and most of the researchers will be there. A number of the group people have done the work. For example, you have distributed your work, your funded work you are distributing among the students, and students taking this, and guides are helping them. There are 4 or 5 guides are there, there are 25 to 30 students are there, they have worked, but you are going to claim it as your own work and you are publishing it and patenting it. This is the very bad way of it, and it's totally against to the ethics, right? So it's like, that's what the some authors will be there in trying to acquire the sole authored work. That means despite relying on significant contribution to the research work from the others, they contribute, they publish only with their name, no other names will be there. So that is also is not a good practice in research. Recognize that effort only by an acknowledgement, so thereby misrepresenting the contributions of the listed authors. So you are going to misrepresent that the contribution of the listed authors. Now the unrecognized, so to the research work from the others, and recognize that effort only by an acknowledgement. In the end of the result paper, there will be acknowledgement. Only there they will put name. These people have helped me. No, that doesn't work. So whoever has worked on it, everybody's name should be there on your paper or a patent. So thereby misrepresenting a contribution of the listed authors. Now the unrecognized author is an consequences. Is as a consequences unavailable to readers for the elaborations. So all listed authors have the full obligation of all contents of a research article. So naturally, they should also be made aware of the journal submission by the corresponding author. Whoever is submitting the author, he might be the corresponding author. So he has to tell everyone that they are going to submit this particular paper in this particular journal. So all the information has to be shared. Anyway, after getting published, every person is responsible. If something goes wrong, every person is responsible. If something goes well, also every person has got credit. So it has to be informed everyone. It's the job of corresponding author to inform everyone about regarding the journal submission and so on. So it is imperative that their consent is sought with respect to the content, and that they be agreeable to the submission. That means every journal has got this. When they are submitting the paper, when it is in the stage of acceptance, the journal needs every author's signature. That has to be there. So that consent has to be taken. So in the case of misconduct like inappropriate authorship, while the perpetrator is easier to find, the degree of appropriate accountability of the co-authors is not always obvious. Definitely. So being able to quantify the contributions so as to appropriately recognize and ascertain the degree of associated accountability of each co-author is appealing. Definitely. So accountability plays a very important role. So double submissions is an important ethical issue related to the authorship, which involves submission of a paper to 2 forums simultaneously. For example, if I have my work, okay, as we discussed in the previous class. So if I cannot publish same work in 2 journals at a time, only one journal I have to submit. And we have to wait unless and until the reviewer's comments comes, if there is acceptance or rejections or whatever it is. If any rejection notice comes from your journal end, then only you are allowed to submit in other journal. Okay, so that also comes under the ethical issues. So the motivation is to increase the publication possibility and possibly decrease the time to publications. So because of this motivation, people will do what, they will submit in two or three journals. That should not be done. So reputed journals want to publish original papers, that is the papers which have not appeared elsewhere. So strongly they discourage double submission. Double submission should not be there. So that's it. That's the end of your research methodology first module. We will discuss in the second module. We will start from the next class.